Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. While I'm thinking about it and just saw it in the picture, WHOTEEWHO.com, we got these True Timber Strata leather patch hats and a bunch of shirts, Bing Bangs and Boo Lights in America and stuff like that up on the WHOTEEWHO.com website. A lot of people have been asking me here recently, and I never talk about it, but yeah, we got all that stuff on WHOTEEWHO.com. But today, we are here to talk about 7mm PRC. So that cartridge came out, I don't know, officially announced maybe 2 years ago or so. I took a deer with 7mm PRC last deer season. Shout out to Chasing the Outdoors with Tanner Guzzi. Put me on a whitetail that I got with 7mm PRC. And I got it, that's upside down, with Remington's new Premier Cut, Remington's copper tipped. And I got it in 7mm PRC. I have two 7mm PRC Bing Bangs that I bought myself. 7mm PRC in Mossberg Patriot and in a Ruger American. Bought both of those. Mossberg Patriot, grouped incredibly right out of the box. Ruger American, grouped like absolute trash, like 2-inch groups. I sent it back to Ruger. They sent me another one that grouped awesome. So I have two 7mm PRCs. Both are 24-inch barrels. They both group really good. And like I said, I got a whitetail 7mm PRC with this stuff last deer season. Right now, if you type in 7mm PRC versus deer, I got the first two videos that popped up. I just tried it. So if you want to see catching deers with 7mm PRC, type it into the YouTubes and I got two videos of it. But here's what we're talking about for this video. There's a lot of buzz right now where 7mm PRC isn't all it's cracked up to be. And what I'm saying is, there's a lot of buzz out right now, this stuff right here. So, I did a bunch of videos, like I do with every other cartridge, talking about drop at different distances and energy at different distances. Well, I made a very in-depth video, I don't know, a year ago or so, comparing 300 PRC, 300 Win Mag, 7mm Remington Magnum, and the 6.5 PRC, just to put them head to head. Is 7mm PRC everything it's cracked up to be? And I did the comparison with this match stuff, and also to keep everything the same, the Hornady Match, the Hornady Precision Hunter, and then the Hornady Outfitter. Well, guess what? Pretty much across the board, 7mm PRC in all three of those loadings won by far when it comes to being the flattest. I ran those numbers all the way out to a mile against all those other cartridges. Everybody, ooh, it stays supersonic to a mile. At a mile, with using the velocities, and that's what we're going to talk about, using the velocities printed on the box for the drop, greatly outshines 300 Win Mag, 300 PRC, 6.5 PRC, and 7mm Mag at a mile. Out to like 1,000 yards, it's the flattest, but only by like 1.5 feet or so compared to some of those others. But at a mile, it's considerably flatter than all those others. But that's using the velocity on the box. Now, recently, I tested on the chronograph, literally this box right here, and it got about 150 feet per second slower than what the box says. So the box says 2975 feet per second, right there. Let me roll in the footage of me putting this stuff on the chronograph just this past week, the other day or so. Show you what I got. 24-inch barrel here in the Mossberg. Let's see what speed it gets. .2836. What'd the box say? I'll show you all the lot number in all this. There's a. So yeah, almost 150 feet per second slower. That being said, 24-inch barrels is pretty much what everybody's making. That's what my Ruger American is. That's what my Mossberg Patriot is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in just the match and compare what my old numbers were versus my new numbers and see, is 7mm PRC really all it's cracked up to be, knowing what we know now? If you're really interested in deep diving, there's interviews with Hornady themselves as to why the slower speeds and so on and so forth. But the question of the day is 7mm PRC really cracked up, really what it's cracked up to be, using the slow Hornady numbers? Now, I told you, this stuff grouped awesome for me. I got videos up of this 7mm PRC, incredible groups. And it took a deer for me, incredibly. Instant fall over. Again, that video's up. So, let me show you on my computer right here. And if you missed this video, definitely go check it out. So, this is the video that I did, right? I compared the match, the Precision Hunter, and the Outfitter 7mm PRC is highlighted yellow. And I did all this information, right? How many inches does it drop at a mile? So 7mm PRC in every loading dropped the least compared to all those other long range ones, right? Well, here for the sake of this video, I'm going to take this 180 ELD and plug in the actual velocity and trace it out to a mile and see if it still wins, or are you better off just grabbing a 6.5 PRC or a 300 Win Mag or something else? Hornady doesn't load 7mm rim mag in the match, and that's what we're talking about today. So, unless they started loading it since I made this video, we don't have that to compare on this one. But, be right back, and I'm going to rerun all these numbers and see how that changes things at a mile, knowing what we know now. Alright, so I just checked Hornady's website, the data for velocity on the these. They still got it on their website as 2975 feet per second, which is what's printed on this box. Also double check to make sure they're not loading this match in 7mm Remington Magnum, and they're not. Just the hunting boo lies. But for this video, I reran the numbers out to a mile. And interesting. Short conclusion is, given that the 7PRC is a lot slower than what the box says, using the new numbers, you're pretty close. 6.5 PRC and the 300 PRC are very close at a mile. And 7mm PRC is not near as good as what the actuals are. Let me show you the numbers. It'll be easy to interpret with my color codes here. Let me flip the camera around. So here's what I got. Same numbers. And I'm holding my camera looking at my computer screen, so it's going to be a little bit fuzzy. But here's what I did. 2975 is the velocity from the box. And my actuals was that, come on now, focus for me here. My actuals was that 2836. So running that out, this is drop in inches, assuming a 1.5 inch over bore scope. And what are our other assumptions? Yeah, these velocities, same BC obviously, talking about the same projectile here. And then comparing them to all the other, what most would consider flat rounds in that same match loading. Yeah. So, this bottom one is the one we're looking at actual, and then compared to these others. So, at 200 yards right here, well, 6.5 PRC is flatter, 300 Win Mag is flatter than the actuals. Green means that's the flattest at the given distance, and then red means the worst, and yellow is somewhere in the middle. So 300 yards, 6.5 PRC is flatter. 400 yards, 6.5 PRC is still flatter than the actual 7 PRC. Same thing at 500 yards, same thing at 600 yards, same thing at 700 yards, 800 yards, 900 yards, even to 1,000 yards. The 6.5 PRC is flatter than the 7 PRC. Who would have thought? Now you go up and look at these others. Right off the jump, 300 PRC is the worst. That switches to 300 Win Mag being the worst, meaning drops the most at 800 yards. And then the 300 PRC with that higher BC and heavier projectile, 225 grainer, starts to show that it's pretty cool as it gets further and further, and it gets flatter and flatter in comparison all the way out to a mile. This green is the box stated velocity, getting that drop. This is the actual of the 7 PRC. You can see how close that is. At a mile, that 300 PRC actually is flatter than the 6.5 PRC. But you can see here, looking at these numbers, the 6.5 PRC hangs very close to the actuals of that 7 PRC. And when I initially filmed this video, I left this out for whatever reason, but just to have this comparison so somebody doesn't call me out on it. That's your mil dial at 1 mile. So this one was the box stated velocity, and this one is the actual. So with the actual 7mm PRC speed, my calculations show 1 mil dial difference at a mile between this bottom line is the 6.5 PRC and then the actuals. So just another way to look at it. Dropping inches doesn't really mean a whole lot to a lot of people, but this does mean something. 1 less mil dial for the 7 PRC actuals versus the 6.5 PRC. And then at a mile, 300 PRC is second place, 6.5 PRC is third place, and then the actual drop, this is dropping inches at a mile. If you're going for a mile, the actuals with that match on the 7mm PRC are not as near as crazy good as they initially appeared when I first ran these numbers. So, does it still win? Yes. By like what? What is that? 50 inches or something. 50, 60 inches drop. So it drops 5 feet less. And, you know, a little bit less here. So, all that being said, using the actuals, the 7mm PRC isn't the crazy, flat, awesome new thing as we thought it was. All that being said, that's the initial stuff that came out from Hornady, that match stuff that people were all excited about. Supposedly, when it first launched, the velocities were a lot closer than what was printed on the box, but now the stuff that, I mean, I got this box shortly after 7 PRC was announced. You can see the tag here. I got it from some hole-in-the-wall place. Shout out to State Line Precision. Down there in Louisiana, mom and pop style shop on a random road trip I was on in Louisiana. I bought this stuff at the same time as my Mossberg Patriot. This is some pretty early launch stuff. If you guys really want to nerd out, you can take note of the lot number right there. If my camera will focus right there, you can freeze it and get that lot number. But yeah, now we could go down a rabbit hole and say, well, what about those 6.5 PRC numbers? Are they as good as they say they are? Or the 300 Win Mag or the 300 PRC? Maybe that's a test for another day. But just throwing it out there, I spent a lot of time initially putting these charts together and really studying and wrapping my head around the 7mm PRC cartridge. For the sake of hunting, all the studying I've done, and maybe we need to take out the precision hunter and other stuff. Off the cuff for hunting, 7mm Rem Mag to 1,000 yards is just as good as 7mm PRC. So if you come and tell me, hey, I'm catching deers at 300 yards, I'm probably going to tell you to go 7 Rem Mag. I've taken my 7mm Remington Magnum, actually several of mine, in 7 Rem Mag out to 1,000 yards very easily. My personal opinion is you don't need a 7 PRC to go to 1,000 yards. There's not many people that even have access to 1,000 yards, much less out to a mile. Now, if you're taking your stuff out to a mile, that's when I would say, if you're picking up something, you might want to think 7 PRC, 300 PRC, maybe 6.5 PRC if you want a little less recoil. But for a large majority of people, 7mm Remington Magnum 300 Win Mag is all you need for catching big game, deer, elk, what have you. I might even go down a rabbit hole and say all you need is 30-06 and 270. I just put a smile on some of y'all's face right there. But then we're getting into opinions and all that stuff. But I've taken a lot of deer with a lot of different things. The boot light placement is more important to me than the energy and the drop. But yeah, spend the time grouping your rig, practice with it to where you know you can precisely predict where that boot light's going to hit. That's the most important thing to me. Now, you can't be out there slinging rimfire rounds. Don't misquote me. You still got to pick a good, ethical, decent energy cartridge. But that being said, is this new stuff, PRC stuff, cool? Yeah. Have I taken deer with it? Yeah. I got 7mm PRC deer catching videos. That's my goals. You type in anything, you pop up old Hootie on the interwebs. But just to put it out there, it's a kind of a hot topic out there recently on 7mm PRC. May not be as ooh and ah as we thought it was. But yeah, at the end of the day, do what you want to do. Pick up what you want to pick up. Absolutely feel free to hit me with any questions and I'll answer them the best of my knowledge down below in the comments. Appreciate y'all. Like I said, don't forget to check out WHOTEEWHO.com. We got all kind of cool stuff. This is my original one, like the prototype. You can see I got all kind of grease and sweat on it now, but that just makes it cooler. I used to wear my hats for years at a time where you couldn't even tell what color they were anymore. I mean, this is literally the hat I wear every day. But anyways, now I'm rambling about nonsense. Appreciate y'all. Let me know what you think about 7mm PRC in the comments down below. We'll see you guys on the next one. Hootie hoo!